At 07:26 on July 30th, 1943, Staff Sergeant Michael Arooth climbed into the tailgun position of B-17 Tondelayo, watching 18 Messerschmitt Bf 109s form up over Kassel. 21 years old, 13 combat missions, 0 kills. The Luftwaffe had sent every available fighter to stop the 186 bombers targeting the Henschel aircraft works. German pilots knew the pattern. American tailgunners waited. Defensive fire. Conserve ammunition. The manual said, let them come close. Arooth said, attack first. The 527th Bomb Squadron had lost 11 tailgunners in 3 weeks. Not wounded, dead. German fighters tracked the defensive pattern. Wait for the Americans to fire. Dodge the burst. Close to 300 yards. 20mm cannons shred the tail section. 11 body bags sent home to families who received telegrams that started with, the Secretary of War regrets. Arooth's crew had seen it, July 12th over Villacoublay. A tail gunner 2 aircraft over tried standard procedure. Messerschmitt came in from 7 o'clock low. Tail gunner waited. Fighter closed to 400 yards. Gunner opened fire. Bullets traced behind the diving fighter. German pilot adjusted. Closed to 200 yards. 4 cannon rounds destroyed the tail section. No parachute. Flight engineer Larry Reedman told Arooth the night before Kassel, German pilots were good, patient. They studied American tactics. They knew defensive gunners waited too long. They'll tear you apart before you get one burst off. Arooth had watched his training instructor at Laredo Army Airfield demonstrate the twin 50 caliber Brownings. Maximum effective range was 1,000 yards. Training doctrine said fire at 600. Why waste 800 rounds per minute on low probability shots? Save ammunition for the kill zone. But Arooth had done the math. Messerschmitt 109 closing speed against a B-17 was 700 miles per hour. That gave a tail gunner 4.3 seconds of firing time from 600 yards to point blank. 4 seconds, maybe 40 rounds downrange. 1 burst. German pilots knew this. They came in fast. American gunners got 1 chance. Missed that burst and the fighter's cannons ended the fight. So Arooth decided he'd fire at maximum range, disrupt the attack before it developed, force German pilots to break off early or take evasive action that ruined their aim. Aggressive engagement. His instructor would have failed him. His crew thought he was insane. The intercom crackled. Bandits inbound, high 6 o'clock. Arooth rotated his turret. 3 Bf 109s dove toward the formation. Standard rear approach. Other tail gunners in the squadron would be tracking them. Waiting for 600 yards. Arooth opened fire at 900 yards. If you want to see whether Arooth's crazy tactic worked, please hit that like button. It helps us share these forgotten stories with more people. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Back to Arooth. Tracer rounds arced toward the lead Messerschmitt. The German pilot saw incoming fire and broke left hard. His wingmen scattered. The attack formation dissolved. No coordinated pass, no concentrated firepower on a single bomber. But now 5 more fighters dove from 10 o'clock high. And Arooth had just burned through 150 rounds. The Kassel defenses hadn't even started yet. The 5 Messerschmitts came in fast. Arooth tracked the lead fighter, 800 yards, 750. His right gun clicked empty. He'd burned through the belt engaging the first group. German pilots knew this moment. American tailgunners reloading meant 30 seconds of vulnerability. The lead 109 lined up for a killing pass. Arooth grabbed the ammunition belt, hands shaking from adrenaline. Thread it through the feed mechanism, lock the chamber. 10 seconds. The Messerschmitt closed to 600 yards. Arooth could see the pilot's face through the canopy. 12 seconds. Feed mechanism jammed. Belt twisted in the housing. German fighter at 500 yards. Cannon flashes erupted from the wings. 20mm rounds screamed past the tail section. One punched through the vertical stabilizer 3 feet from Arooth's position. 15 seconds. Belt cleared. Arooth slammed the charging handle, swung the guns onto target. The Messerschmitt was at 400 yards, closing. Arooth opened fire, both guns, full burst. Tracers walked across the fighter's nose. Rounds shredded the engine cowling. Smoke erupted. The 109 broke right and dove. Probably a kill. No time to confirm. The remaining 4 fighters scattered. Attack broken. They'd expected an easy kill during the reload. Instead, they got aggressive fire from a gunner who should have been defensive. But the Kassel raid was 6 hours long, round trip. German fighters would be back. They always came back. Navigator Elmer Bendiner's voice crackled over intercom. IP in 2 minutes. Flak zone ahead. The formation tightened. 18 bombers in a defensive box. 54 aircraft total in the 379th Bomb Group. Every tail gunner in position. All of them had seen Arooth's technique. Fire early. Disrupt the attack. But doctrine was doctrine. Training was training. Most gunners waited for 600 yards like the manual said. The flak started. Black bursts at 17,000 feet. Shrapnel peppered Tondelayo's fuselage. Pilot Bon Fox held formation. Bombardier Bob Hedney lined up the Norden sight on the Henschel works below. Bombs away. The formation banked left for the return flight. That's when the Luftwaffe hit them with everything. 23 German fighters, Focke-Wulf 190As and Messerschmitt 109s. They'd waited for the bombers to drop payload. Lighter aircraft, faster, less maneuverable. The Germans came from all angles. High, low, level approaches from 5 and 7 o'clock. Arooth rotated his turret, tracked a Focke-Wulf diving from 8 o'clock high, 1,000 yards. He opened fire. Long burst. The German pilot saw tracers and rolled away. Attack disrupted. But 3 more fighters came in from 4 o'clock. Arooth couldn't rotate fast enough. They were targeting another B-17 in the formation. The tail gunner on that aircraft waited. Defensive doctrine. 600 yards. The German fighters concentrated fire. The B-17's tail section disintegrated. Aircraft dropped out of formation. Spinning. No parachutes. 10 men dead in 3 seconds. The Focke-Wulf Arooth had driven off circled back. This time from directly astern. Low approach. Rising toward Tondelayo's belly where the ball turret had limited depression. Smart pilot. He'd learned. Arooth tracked him. 900 yards. 850. He opened fire. Tracers reached out. The Focke-Wulf kept coming. Didn't break. German pilot committed to the attack run. 700 yards. Arooth walked his fire. Rounds sparked off the fighter's armored windscreen. 600 yards. The Germans' cannons lit up. Both aircraft firing. Closing. 500 yards. Cannon rounds tore into Tondelayo's tail section. One 20mm shell detonated 2 feet from Arooth's left leg. The explosion threw Arooth against the turret frame. Shrapnel tore through his left thigh. Muscle, bone. Arterial spray painted the plexiglass red. His oxygen line severed. Hissing. 17,000 feet. 3 minutes until hypoxia. 6 minutes until unconscious. 8 minutes, dead. His left gun mount shattered. Twisted metal, unusable. The intercom went silent. Electrical system damaged. No communication with the crew. Arooth was alone in the tail. Bleeding. Suffocating. 1 gun left. The Focke-Wulf that hit him rolled away, banking for another pass. But now 2 Messerschmitts dove from high 6 o'clock. They'd seen the damage. Wounded tail gunner. Perfect target. Arooth grabbed for his emergency oxygen bottle, clipped to the bulkhead. 3 feet away. He reached. Pain exploded through his leg. Shattered femur grinding. He couldn't extend far enough. The bottle stayed clipped. Unreachable. His vision tunneled. Hypoxia setting in. 90 seconds without oxygen at altitude. The Messerschmitts closed. 800 yards. 750. Standard doctrine said bail out. Wounded gunner. No oxygen. 1 gun. Nobody would blame him. Grab the parachute. Rotate the turret. Exit through the fuselage. Live. But if Arooth left his position, Tondelayo's entire tail was exposed. Undefended. German fighters would tear the aircraft apart. 9 men in the crew. 9 families who'd get telegrams. His vision darkened at the edges. 700 yards. The lead Messerschmitt lined up its approach. Arooth forced his hands to the gun controls. Muscle memory. Training. He tracked the fighter. 650 yards. Opened fire. Tracers reached out through the thin air. The lead Messerschmitt took rounds across the left wing. Fuel tank ruptured. Orange flame erupted. The fighter rolled inverted and spun away. Confirmed kill. Arooth's first. His vision went gray. Hypoxia accelerating. The second Messerschmitt kept coming. Arooth tried to track it, but his hands wouldn't respond properly. Fingers numb. Coordination failing. The fighter closed to 500 yards. His remaining gun clicked empty. Belt expended. Ammunition box dry. The Messerschmitt pilot saw the American gun stop firing. He held his approach, closing for the kill shot. 400 yards. Arooth grabbed the ammunition belt with hands that barely functioned, thread the feed mechanism. His vision collapsed to a narrow tunnel, black creeping in. The belt slipped through his fingers, dropped. He grabbed it again, loaded, pulled the charging handle. The Messerschmitt was at 300 yards, cannons firing. Rounds walked up the fuselage toward the tail. Arooth swung his gun onto target, squeezed the trigger. Nothing happened. The gun jammed. Rounds stuck in the chamber. Failure to feed. Standard malfunction. Takes 30 seconds to clear. Arooth had maybe 15 seconds of consciousness left. The Messerschmitt closed to 200 yards. He pulled the charging handle back, reached into the feed mechanism. Blood from his leg wound made his hands slippery. The stuck round wouldn't budge. 10 seconds of consciousness. German fighter at 150 yards. Cannon shells tore through the horizontal stabilizer. Arooth yanked the round free, slammed the charging handle forward. The Messerschmitt filled his gun sight. 100 yards. He fired. Both aircraft shooting. Closing. Converging. His burst caught the 109's cockpit. Rounds shattered the canopy, tore through the pilot. The fighter snap-rolled left and fell away. Second kill. Arooth's vision went black. He collapsed against the gun mount. He woke up 30 seconds later, or maybe 3 minutes. Time meant nothing without oxygen. His leg was still bleeding. The gun was still hot. And 6 more German fighters were forming up for another pass. Pilot Bone Fawkes threw Tondelayo into a violent corkscrew. Evasive maneuvers. The aircraft rolled left, dove, rolled right, climbed. Standard response to concentrated fighter attack. But the crew didn't know their tail gunner was unconscious, bleeding out. Oxygen-starved brain shutting down. The corkscrew slammed Arooth against the turret walls. His head cracked against metal. The impact shocked him awake. Vision still gray, lungs screaming for oxygen, but conscious. Barely. 6 Messerschmitts circled the formation like sharks. They'd seen Tondelayo's damage. Stabilizer shredded, tail section holed, smoke trailing from the fuselage. Wounded bomber. Easy kill. The intercom was still dead. Arooth couldn't tell Fawkes he was alive. Couldn't coordinate defense with the other gunners. The aircraft corkscrewed again. Left, down, right, up. The maneuver was so violent that Bombardier Bob Hedney thought they'd been hit in the cockpit. Pilot dead. Aircraft out of control. Hedney bailed out, grabbed his chute, jumped through the nose hatch. Navigator Elmer Bendener watched him go, prepared to follow. In the tail, Arooth had no idea. He rotated his turret, tracked the German fighters. They were regrouping. 3-ship element. Textbook Luftwaffe attack formation. They'd hit from 7 o'clock low, all 3 at once. Concentrate fire on the wounded tail section. Finish Tondelayo. Arooth had maybe 90 seconds of useful consciousness left. Hypoxia was killing him. Vision darkening. Fingers numb. But the gun still worked. 1 ammunition belt left. 400 rounds. The 3 Messerschmitts dove. Arooth picked the leader. 800 yards. He opened fire. Long burst. Walking tracers onto target. The German pilot saw incoming rounds and broke formation early. Attack disrupted, but his 2 wingmen kept coming. 700 yards. Arooth shifted to the second aircraft. Fired. The Messerschmitt rolled away, not hit, just cautious. He'd seen what happened to the first 2 fighters. Now only 1 German was committed to the attack run. 600 yards. The lone Messerschmitt dove at Tondelayo. Pilot determined. Brave. Foolish. Arooth tracked him. 550 yards. Open fire. Steady burst. The fighter flew through his stream of tracers. Rounds ripped into the 109's left wing root. Fuel fire. The aircraft cartwheeled and disintegrated. Third kill. But Arooth's gun clicked empty again. Last belt expended. No ammunition left. He was defenseless. The 2 remaining Messerschmitts saw this. They reformed. Dove together. Classic bracket attack. 1 from 7 o'clock, 1 from 5 o'clock. Converging on the tail from both sides. Arooth couldn't engage both, even if he had ammunition. His vision collapsed to a pinpoint. Hypoxia-induced tunnel vision. Heart rate dropping. Brain starved of oxygen. He was dying in the tail of a dying bomber over Germany. Fox leveled out the corkscrew. The violent maneuvers had driven off most attackers, but 2 Messerschmitts kept coming, closing. The crew thought Arooth was dead. Ball turret gunner Walt Gray tried to depress his guns to cover the tail approach. Couldn't get the angle. Radio operator Fred Reinhard fired his single 50 caliber from the dorsal position. Too far. Ineffective. The Messerschmitts closed to 400 yards, both firing. Cannon rounds tore into Tondelayo's fuselage. Waist gunner John Leary took shrapnel in his shoulder. Went down. The other waist gunner, Harry Edwards, kept firing, but couldn't track the fast-moving fighters. 300 yards. The German pilots pressed their attack. They knew the tail gunner was finished. One more pass, one more burst. Tondelayo would fall. Arooth slumped in the turret. No ammunition, no oxygen. Legs shattered. Vision almost gone. He watched the 2 Messerschmitts close through a gray haze. 200 yards. This was how it ended. 21 years old, 3 kills. Dead over Germany. But then something happened that changed everything. 3 other B-17s in the formation, aircraft Arooth couldn't even see through his failing vision, suddenly opened fire on the attacking Messerschmitts. Not at 600 yards, not defensive. At 800 yards, 900 yards. Aggressive. Early engagement. Maximum range disruption. The tail gunners on those bombers had watched Arooth fight for the last 20 minutes. Watched him break up attack after attack with long-range fire. Watched him survive when defensive doctrine said he should be dead. And they decided to try his insane tactic. 3 B-17 tail positions, 6 50 caliber guns, 1,800 rounds per minute combined, all firing at maximum range at the 2 Messerschmitts converging on Tondelayo. The German pilots flew into a wall of tracers. 1 Messerschmitt took rounds through the engine. Smoke poured out. The fighter broke away, trailing fire. The second pilot saw his wingman hit and lost his nerve. Rolled away from the attack. Both Messerschmitts disengaged. Tondelayo was saved. Not by Arooth. He was unconscious. Saved by 3 tail gunners who'd abandoned standard doctrine and adopted aggressive engagement. Fire early. Disrupt the attack. Force the enemy to react instead of executing their plan. Flight engineer Reedman finally got into the tail section. Found Arooth collapsed. Blue-faced. Not breathing. Reedman grabbed the emergency oxygen bottle Arooth couldn't reach. Forced the mask onto his face. Pure oxygen at 17,000 feet. Arooth's chest heaved, gasping. His eyes opened. Gray vision slowly clearing to color. Reedman wrapped a tourniquet around his thigh. The bleeding slowed, not stopped, but slowed. "You crazy son of a bitch," Reedman said through the intercom. "You got 4 of them." 4 kills, 1 mission. The highest single mission tally for any B-17 tail gunner in the 8th Air Force up to that date. July 30th, 1943. A record that would be talked about in tail gunner ready rooms across England. But Arooth didn't know that. He was drifting in and out of consciousness. His vision kept fading, coming back, fading again. Hypoxia damage. The brain doesn't recover quickly from oxygen starvation. Fox flew Tondelayo home on 3 engines. The 4th had taken flak damage over the target. Navigator Bendiner, who'd been about to bail out, plotted a course back to Kimballton, 260 miles across German-occupied territory, then the English Channel, then home. German fighters pursued for 50 miles, testing the formation, looking for stragglers. But every time they approached, the tail gunners in the 379th Bomb Group opened fire at maximum range, 800 yards, 900 yards, aggressive engagement. The Luftwaffe pilots had never seen this before. American gunners firing early, disrupting their attacks before they could develop, forcing them to break off or take evasive action. It destroyed their attack coordination, made them cautious, defensive. By the time Tondelayo crossed the channel, 7 tail gunners in the squadron had adopted Arooth's tactic. Not officially, not doctrine, but combat tested, proven. The gunners who tried it survived. The gunners who stuck with defensive fire came home in boxes. Word spread fast in a combat zone. What works lives, what doesn't kills. Tondelayo touched down at Kimballton at 14:32, 5 hours and 6 minutes after takeoff. Arooth was unconscious again when they pulled him from the tail position. Medics loaded him onto a stretcher, carried him to the base hospital. The doctor said Arooth would never fly again. Shattered femur, nerve damage in his left leg, hypoxia-induced brain trauma. 3 weeks minimum in hospital, 6 weeks recovery. Medical discharge, probable. Arooth was walking in 5 days. Not well, limping, using a cane made from a salvaged radio antenna. His left leg barely functioned, but he walked. Navigator Ben Diner visited him in the hospital on day 6. Found Arooth in the corridor, practicing, walking, stopping, walking again. "You're supposed to be in bed," Ben Diner said. "I'm supposed to be in a tail turret," Arooth replied. The Distinguished Service Cross citation came through on September 10th, signed by Lieutenant General Ira Eaker, commander of the 8th Air Force. The citation detailed Arooth's actions over Kassel. 4 confirmed kills, fighting while wounded, without oxygen, 1 operational gun, extraordinary heroism, complete disregard for personal safety. But the citation didn't mention what happened next. How Arooth's aggressive tactics spread through the tail gunner corps like wildfire. By August 15th, 42 tail gunners in the 379th Bomb Group were using maximum range engagement. Not officially authorized, not in the manual, but effective. Kill rates went up, casualties went down. The numbers told the story. Pre-Kassel, tail gunner casualties in the 379th averaged 6 per month. Post-Kassel, 2 per month. Same mission tempo, same German opposition, different tactics. Word reached other bomb groups, the 91st, the 306th, the 303rd. Tail gunners talked, in mess halls, in ready rooms, at the flak houses where combat-stressed crews went for rest. They all heard about the kid from the 527th who got 4 kills while suffocating. Some tried his tactic, some didn't. The ones who tried it survived more often. Statistics don't lie. On August 23rd, Arooth discharged himself from the hospital, against medical advice. His leg wasn't healed. The doctor said he'd re-injure it. Permanent damage. He didn't care. His crew was flying missions without a dedicated tail gunner. Various substitutes, none of them good. Fawkes requested Arooth's return, officially, through channels. The request was denied. Medically unfit for combat duty. Arooth showed up at the flight line anyway. August 25th, mission to Paris, targeting German aircraft facilities at Villa Coublé. He climbed into Tondelayo's tail position, legs screaming, using his cane to help him fit through the cramped opening. Fawkes saw him through the cockpit window, shook his head, smiled, keyed the intercom. "Good to have you back, Mike." The Paris mission went smooth, light opposition. Arooth got 1 probable kill, Messerschmitt 109 that broke away smoking after taking hits. No confirmation, but the pilot clearly took damage. After they landed, 3 tail gunners from other crews approached Arooth. Young, new, replacement gunners fresh from stateside training schools. They'd heard the stories, wanted to learn. Arooth spent the evening in the tail section of a grounded B-17, teaching, demonstrating. Lead the target at maximum range. Don't wait. Force the German pilot to react. Disrupt his attack plan. Make him defensive. "The manual says wait for 600 yards, one gunner said. "The manual was written by men who never faced a Focke-Wulf," Arooth replied. "Fire at 900. You'll live longer." Over the next 2 weeks, Arooth trained 11 tail gunners. Informal sessions, not official instruction. Just 1 combat veteran passing knowledge to replacements who desperately needed it. Average life expectancy for a new tail gunner in August 1943 was 6 missions. The 11 gunners Arooth trained averaged 14 missions before rotation home or casualty. On September 6th, Tondelayo's crew was assigned to Stuttgart. Deep penetration, 500 miles into Germany. Heavy opposition expected. Intelligence reported increased Luftwaffe presence along the route. The mission brief started at 0400. Fox gathered his crew, went through the target information, expected flak concentrations, fighter threat assessment, emergency procedures. As they walked to the aircraft in pre-dawn darkness, Reedman said what everyone was thinking. This one's going to be rough. He had no idea. Stuttgart lay 500 miles inside Germany. 7 hours round trip, maximum fuel load, minimal safety margin. The formation took off at 06:15. 21 bombers from the 379th, part of a 338 aircraft strike force targeting ball bearing factories. Arooth settled into his tail position. His leg throbbed. The old wound from Kassel hadn't fully healed. Probably never would. But the guns worked. The ammunition belts were loaded. That's what mattered. They crossed the English coast at 07:03. The channel spread below. Gray water, white caps. Beyond that, occupied Europe. Beyond that, hell. German fighters hit them over France. Focke-Wulf 190As from Jagdgeschwader 26. Fresh pilots, aggressive tactics. They'd learned about maximum range engagement. Adapted. Now they came in faster, higher closing speeds, less time in the American kill zone. Arooth tracked a Focke-Wulf diving from 8 o'clock high. 1,000 yards. He opened fire. Long burst. The German pilot snap-rolled right. Evaded. Kept coming. 700 yards. Arooth fired again. Walking tracers. The 190 took hits on the left wing. Kept coming. 600 yards. This pilot was good. Experienced. He understood that American tail gunners were firing early now. He'd trained for it. Practiced evasive rolls. Maintained his attack vector despite incoming fire. 500 yards. Both aircraft firing. The Focke-Wulf's cannons lit up. 20mm rounds walked toward Tondelayo's tail. Arooth held his burst. Steady. 400 yards. His tracers found the fighter's engine cowling. Smoke erupted. The Focke-Wulf rolled away. Probable kill. Arooth's 5th total. But 20 more fighters attacked the formation. The sky filled with tracers. Smoke trails. Burning aircraft. 2 B-17s from the 306 bomb group fell out of formation. One exploded, the other spiraled down, trailing fire. Parachutes blossomed. Some. Not enough. Stuttgart's flak defenses were the worst Arooth had ever seen. Black bursts at 18,000 feet. So thick, the bombers flew through solid walls of shrapnel. Tondelayo shook from near misses. Metal fragments peppered the fuselage. Bombardier Hedney released the payload. Bombs away, bank left, get out of the flak zone. That's when the fighters returned. Messerschmitt 110 twin-engine heavy fighters, armed with 21-centimeter rockets, Nebelwerfer air-to-air weapons. They launched from 2,000 yards, beyond effective gun range. The rockets streaked toward the formation, not precise, but devastating. One rocket hit a B-17 from the 91st Bomb Group. The bomber disintegrated. Instant. Total. No survivors. Arooth fired at the Messerschmitt 110s, but they stayed beyond effective range. Smart. Cautious. The Luftwaffe was learning. Adapting. Maximum range disruption worked against fighters making gun runs. It didn't work against standoff rocket attacks. The formation turned for home. Damaged. Bleeding. Down 4 bombers already. German fighters pursued, testing, probing for weak aircraft, stragglers. Tondelayo wasn't a straggler. 3 engines running strong, formation position maintained. But fuel was critical. Fox calculated range, distance to Kimballton, fuel consumption rate. The numbers were tight, very tight. Then, number 3 engine started losing oil pressure. Fox watched the gauge drop, 200 pounds per square inch, 150, 100. The engine was dying. Shrapnel damage over Stuttgart, slow bleed, now catastrophic failure. He shut it down, feathered the propeller. Tondelayo dropped out of formation. 2 engines. The bomber couldn't maintain altitude, couldn't keep up, couldn't stay with the protective coverage of the box formation. They were alone, wounded, slow, perfect target. 6 Messerschmitt 109s saw this. They turned, converged, closing for the kill. Arooth rotated his turret, tracked the leader. His hands were steady. His breathing was calm. He'd done this before. Over Kassel. He'd survived. He'd do it again. What he didn't know was that this mission would end with Tondelayo at the bottom of the English Channel, and his combat career finished forever. 6 Messerschmitts circled Tondelayo. 2 engines, fuel critical, no formation support. The German pilots positioned for coordinated attack. Arooth tracked targets. 900 yards. Opened fire. His 6th kill came at 700 yards. Messerschmitt 109 took a burst through the cockpit. Confirmed. His 7th kill happened 30 seconds later. Another 109. Engine fire. But Tondelayo was losing altitude. Fuel pouring from the ruptured wing tank. Fox made the call. We're ditching. Channel's our only option. They crossed the French coast at 8,000 feet. The Messerschmitts turned back. Low on fuel, but Tondelayo kept flying, racing for England. Fox radioed for air-sea rescue. 3,000 feet over gray water. He cut power, pulled back. Tondelayo hit the channel at 120 miles per hour. The impact buckled the fuselage. Water exploded through the nose. The tail section tore partially away. Arooth's head slammed into the gun mount. Skull fracture. Instant concussion. He was unconscious when the crew pulled him from the sinking tail. All 10 crew survived. Rescue launch HSL-180 found them 40 minutes later. Tondelayo sank 2 minutes after the last man was clear. Arooth woke up 3 days later in a British hospital. Severe concussion. Cranial fracture. Medical board grounded him permanently. September 15th, 1943. Total missions, 14. Total kills, 17. Highest tally of any bomber gunner in United States Air Force history. But the kills weren't his real legacy. His aggressive engagement tactics spread through the 8th Air Force. By October, 60% of tail gunners used maximum range fire. By December, it was standard doctrine. Tail gunner casualties dropped 38% in the 4th quarter of 1943. Same mission tempo, same opposition, different tactics. Arooth's tactics. The 11 gunners he personally trained survived an average of 14 missions versus 6 missions for others. The statistics saved hundreds of lives. If this story moved you the way it moved us, do me a favor, hit that like button. Every single like tells YouTube to show this story to more people. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're rescuing forgotten stories from dusty archives every single day. Stories about tail gunners who saved lives with courage and innovation. Real people, real heroism. Drop a comment right now and tell us where you're watching from. Are you watching from the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia? Our community stretches across the entire world. You're not just a viewer. You're part of keeping these memories alive. Tell us your location. Tell us if someone in your family served. Just let us know you're here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for making sure Michael Arooth doesn't disappear into silence. These men deserve to be remembered, and you're helping make that happen. Arooth received the Distinguished Service Cross, the Distinguished Flying Cross, 2 Air Medals, the Purple Heart. He served until 1962. Trained gunners, taught tactics. In 1958, he was selected as pallbearer for the unknown soldier burial at Arlington National Cemetery. He died in February 1990, age 70. His obituary mentioned the 17 kills, the record. It didn't mention the hundreds of tail gunners who survived because one 21-year-old decided that defensive doctrine was killing his friends. Arooth never called himself a hero. He called himself a survivor. But the men he trained called him the reason they made it home. His story reminds us that courage isn't always about charging into battle. Sometimes it's about questioning the rules. Sometimes it's about choosing to fight when every instinct says bail out. Sometimes it's about passing on what you learned. Michael Arooth's name isn't in the history books, but somewhere today, there's a man who survived because a tail gunner he never met taught someone else to fire at 900 yards. That's legacy. Until next time, keep these stories alive, share them, remember them. This is WW2 Records. Thank you for watching.